Hello, welcome guys to the Improvement Season podcast. This is me, Pascal Floor, with my man on the other end. It is Steve Hall. Yes, I wanted to sound a little bit like a radio moderator
Steve
this
Hall.
time around. Steve Hall, yes. And we are back. Steve is back from Greece. He survived. He didn't didn't die of, I don't know, adonism. Is that
Cats.
even a word? Cats?
They would have been the thing that would have killed me over in Greece.
Were there so many cats?
Shit tons of cats.
Well,
everywhere.
Why is that?
I have no idea. If anyone's Greek, tell me why there's cats running around. We were in Athens, cats everywhere. Paros and Naxos, 2 islands, cats. They're just cats running around. I'm not a cat person, so I like a dog.
A really dog person. Because I had an experience with a cat right before so not that experience, but right before a concert. So on the evening we were supposed to play a concert, and we had breakfast at a friend's house, and I think she had like 30 cats, like a typical cat lady who also calls her cats her children.
Oh God.
Sorry for everyone who's now truly offended by that, but I find it quite weird because, I mean, you're putting your cat into a cage every once in a while. You leave them at home. They have to eat from the floor, and they are shitting into one bin that is every once in a while clean. So that these are not your kids, and you're not paying for their education and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, what I wanted to say originally is that one cat, I wanted to actually just be a little bit kind to that cat. Right? I reached out with my hand, and all of a sudden, snap! It just
clawed you.
It scratched my hand, and I couldn't play the bass guitar on that night because I had just scratches all over my fingers, and they were bleeding like massively, right? And I needed to play the plectrum, and I was a bass player who was always playing with the fingers. So ever since then, I'm not the biggest fan of cats, to be honest.
I should actually like cats, I guess, because I've only had bad experiences with a dog. And the only bad experience, this is a completely
He drove the
random.
van. Who hit you? He was the van driver.
Oh, no, the dog was driving. No. My cousins had a dog, or I think they have dogs all the time, but this was years ago, and we were playing like with the ball. And I ran after the ball, and the dog ran after the ball, and I grabbed the ball, and the dog bit my head. I guess thinking it was the ball. It didn't. I don't remember it really hurting that much, but it scared the shit out of me when it bit my head. So.
Yeah, no surprise that you can't remember that it hurt. You just had a concussion or something from that.
I think fortunately it was a little dog. So yeah. Like
so
dogs.
Now that we know that Greece is full of cats, do you want to elaborate how your Greece trip went and what you did in regards to training, for example? You didn't really train, right? Or did you?
So yeah, we talked about it last week that I was taking a deload, then active recovery. And so I'll tell you exactly what I did. I think 3 or 4 times I did like, whilst this was like me being bored and Charlotte was getting ready, I did like press ups on the floor to failure, and then did like myo reps. So did like a few like to failure, and then like 5 sets of 3, and then that's what I did. Really struggle. I wanted Airbnbs to have pull-up bars because we stayed in Airbnbs the whole time and there's nowhere to do any pull-ups. I was like, my back's going to be like completely atrophied because I can't do anything. I tried standing on a table and rowing the suitcase. This is how bored I get when Charlotte's taking her time. And that didn't really work very well because the suitcase is just cumbersome and awkward to try and pull.
Wasn't there a sofa? Such as I did when I was in Tokyo. I told you about it, right?
I tried rowing a sofa, but it didn't really work very well. And I was worried I damaged the floor. So you know what? Someone messaged me on Instagram about the pull-up bar, and they said, actually, you can lie on your stomach and like swim and grab and do like a lat pull down to pull yourself along the floor as if you've got no legs. And I kid you not, I was like, you're joking, right? And he was like, no. And then I was like, okay, I'll take your word for it. And then he sent me a video. He may well be watching this episode, so that was hilarious. It was a video he was doing on a bus, I think. It was really quite impressive, but I didn't try.
It wasn't like he's tricking you into doing that. You're recording it, and then he's just laughing behind your back. What an idiot! He believed me.
Fortunately, I didn't try. It just seemed very awkward. But I did do something I liked doing as well. Was I did like Bulgarian split squats. Body weight, you can pretty much do those to failure and then do my reps. So that's what I really did, like 4 times or something, which was like, I don't know, half an hour each time at most. And then once I trained at a gym in Naxos, and I only really trained there because I'd looked up beforehand and it looked quite cool because it was like overlooking the sea. And they had quite nice equipment. And then someone actually messaged me whilst I was out there and said they'd recently been in Naxos and bought a 5-day pass in that gym, and it was a really cool gym. And as soon as he said that, like, that's like, as a bodybuilder, it's like, oh, I have to go there. I have to go and try the gym. So I did train there once, did full body. I was good. I was only 45 minutes and I came back and Charlotte was still getting ready. So I didn't disrupt the holiday. It's going to sound like just typical girls take a bit of a longer amount of time to get ready. And I'm an earlier morning person than her. So she likes a bit of a lion. So I didn't really.
It's a bit earlier, right?
What?
I'm just.
Oh, sorry. I'm not. Yeah.
Getting up really early in the morning, and she's always like sleeping in until 10ish, 11 or something.
It worked really well for us because Greece is 2 hours ahead. When you're on holiday, you typically go to bed a bit later. Yeah. So I was basically going to bed 2 hours later and up 2 hours later. So then when I came home, it was very easy to get up at my usual and bed at the usual time. So I didn't actually disrupt anything there. So that was really good. But for the first day was exhausting. Like, it was a bad idea. Just like we're talking about going on holiday and deloading, the first half could be kind of, you're just exhausted because you're overreached. Because we left at 2 a.m. in the morning to get our flights, and then we're in Greece like first thing in the morning, and then trying to go around Athens and see all of the ancient ruins and things, we were so exhausted. I literally remember we were sitting outside I'm going to say the name of it wrong, so I'm not going to say it. It was one of the big ancient sites, like the main one. I said it wrong.
Acropolis.
I don't think it was. Actually, it was part of the Acropolis, I think. Yeah. And it was like we're sat outside there, and I remember nodding off, and it's like 30 degrees, and I nodded off sitting down in an awkward position. I was like, "Whoa, I'm so tired."
But it's a beautiful city, right? I mean, with monuments and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the ancient ruins are amazing, and just to be able to walk around them and see them. I really, really want to see the what are they called? The pyramids in Egypt now, because I think once you've seen those, your mind will just be boggled because they're just insane. But yeah, it's amazing seeing those and how well kept they are. And the thing that was really lacking for me, and this is for anyone, I don't know, going to Greece and going to the ruins, in Rome, they have really good descriptions and like things you can read about what you're going to see. But in Athens, there was like the billboards that kind of described what you were looking at. The descriptions were awful. You wouldn't even want to read it. So that was lacking. So I would have liked to have had more kind of information. I like kind of seeing what I'm looking at and knowing a bit about it, and trying to imagine it.
Next time you need to get an audio guide or something.
Yeah, I was thinking like you can probably download an app on your phone and listen to it rather than buying the shitty tourism ones that they sell for. Something I do want to say actually is Greece is quite expensive. I didn't realize it's basically London prices. So
when I was over there, it was, I think, when was it, 2015 or something in March, and the prices were insane, especially for the entrance for all these kind of older ancient buildings and stuff. It was just like insane.
So and a euro to a pound is like almost 1 for 1 at the moment. So it was just like being in London, but there. But I thought it's a bit weird whenever I'm in a foreign currency and I'm using it, I kind of forget that it's money, and I'm just like, I just need to buy stuff. It doesn't matter how much it costs. So, but yeah, I didn't really train out there. It was pretty much just active recovery. I think we hit probably like 20,000 steps most days, just wandering around. And yeah, just made sure I didn't get hungry is the most important thing I did. Baklava is really good. Most bodybuilders probably like baklava because it's like honey, nuts, and then just pastry. But you have to get the right type.
So the most important question is then, did you bring a cat with you at home?
Fortunately not. Charlotte don't like the cats.
Hand luggage, or did you actually travel with a bigger trunk?
We had one suitcase and then hand luggage. So
cat would have probably fitted in.
Shove a cat in there.
Yeah.
I'd really like a dog. Like, I think that would be really nice. Just, something I really like about animals, but particularly dogs, because they're very like, dogs are like like a man's best friend, whereas cats are like, meh, screw you. So I like dogs just feel very unjudgmental. Like if you've had a bad day, the dog's just going to come and be like, all right, mate. If you've been a dickhead to someone else, the dog's just he won't judge you. He's going to like you all the time. So, I like a dog.
That's what I thought I would like as well before I then met Katie together with her son. And right now, I'm just pretty saturated with taking care of something.
Yeah, I bet. So how did your week go? Was this first week of your next mesocycle, or did you deload?
No, this is my deload right now. Okay. So last day of the deload here today. And last week I was having my overreaching week, which that was just like so exhausting. And at the end of the week, I was definitely overreached because I needed to actually see a doctor this time around.
Yeah, wow.
Because I was experiencing symptoms of fever together with the worst headache I've ever experienced in my life. Like, I've never in my life experienced such a severe headache. And I think that this happened a couple of hours after my second lower body session of the overreaching week. And I think that I simply underestimated the severity of my caloric deficit, my capacity of recovery, and that I simply pushed it a little bit too far in that overreaching week. So I was really just like smashed. On Saturday, though, Katie and I left to Venice simply because she had birthday and it was a birthday present of mine, like a little bit of surprise. On Saturday morning, we left to Venice early on the plane, came back on Sunday again, and I was really afraid that I'm not fresh for that short trip, right? And thus, I just went to the doctor immediately on Thursday. So the luxury of Katie's mom being a doctor as well, so could go there. Got some medication, and on Friday I was still feeling like shit, but then on Saturday morning I got up and I was all right. I mean, I still took some ibuprofen. Now everyone is like saying, oh, NSAIDs and gains, right?
Gut health, mate.
Yeah, and gut health, right.
Jeez.
Gains and gut health. No, but as a matter of fact, only because it was short term, I rather see more benefits in taking NSAIDs than not to take them. When it comes to the effects on muscle tissue building, I think they are more so long term. So when you are
chronic,
totally. When you take something like an NSAID over a long period of time, it might be detrimental, but it's not that you won't see any gains at all. It's like the same as with cardio, right? People always make it out to be as when you're doing cardio, you can't possibly gain any kind of muscle mass. It always depends on the dose and for how long and how severe you are supplementing with that. And yeah, it was just so beneficial in that situation. So yeah, we've been to Venice. So both you and I, we've been away. And in my case, it was a little bit of a shorter trip. No cats in Venice. No fish either. I've seen a lot of fishermen, but I haven't seen really fresh fish there. So we've been to a restaurant. It was a hard time to actually find a restaurant with like fish and stuff. Most of them pizza, obviously, right? Of course, I had a pizza, even though that I'm cutting. Yeah, it was decent. I wasn't really too fond of the pizza.
They're not the best.
No, I was expecting a little bit more, but also you and I, we both are Neapolitan fans, so that is the only way to go about it. The only way to go about it. And that's not what we had there, but it was all right. And then we went out to a decent restaurant at the evening. And we walked around so much. It's unbelievable. This is always what I tell clients, right? When they are going on a holiday, they don't have to worry about weight gain most of the time. When they are not on a cruise, where there's buffet and you're just sitting at the pool all the time, then you're probably not gaining any kind of fat along the way. Because we took like 40,000 steps in the time span of like 24 hours. Right, and yeah, explored the city. Lovely. Full of tourists. Lots and lots of tourists. It's unbelievable, and especially because they are like a group of sheep, I have the feeling. They are only stuck in one area, and when you leave that area and go to explore like these small alleys, there's no one. And this is actually the more exciting thing, to actually get to know a city and discover a city, at least in my opinion. But anyway, it was a good trip, lots of steps, and when I came back, I weighed in in the range of 86s. So kind of I skipped the 87 mark. I think I only had like 2 or 3 scale rate readings in the 87 mark, simply because I think for once it was masked due to my intake of painkillers, because I always tend to hold a little bit more water when I'm ingesting pain or taking in painkillers. And then due to the weekend, taking that many steps, came back, didn't really have much to eat there, at least not voluminous, came back and then weighed in at 86s. And stayed there ever since then. It's just funny that I skipped the 87s. So yeah, everything sounds a little bit all over the place, but I'm right now in a decent spot. I still feel the impacts of the overreaching week though, but I'm ready to get into week number 1 next week for the new mesocycle.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, what's your you said you were in you underestimated your deficit. What's your calorie intake at the moment?
It's around 2,200.
Okay, that is pretty aggressive.
It is pretty aggressive, but simply because I was able to do so, right? I still don't feel the impacts of the caloric deficit at all. I have no diet fatigue symptoms. I'm not really hungry on a day-to-day basis. I can go by hours without eating anything, and it's more so not consciously, but subconsciously. So the last days I was quite busy, and I simply the hours just passed by, and I was then realizing, oh shit, I need to have something to eat. And I told you that one day all over on WhatsApp that I really needed to force feed myself with some protein for the day, because I can't possibly get towards my caloric target for the day, and it was all right. Didn't really feel diminishing returns the days after or the days to come, which is sometimes something people need to look out for. That when you are in a caloric deficit, don't just go by feel all the time or think that you can push it, and then the next day could potentially bite you in the ass or really backfire on you. But this wasn't the case for me, and yeah, the cut is going really, really great. I'm really happy about that.
That's really good. I kind of, I don't know if it's because I only have Charlotte and I don't have as many things going on as you, because I have basically every single day during the week is like the same. My structure of eating, I always know what I'm going to eat, when I'm going to eat it. So it's really difficult. I never kind of end up missing it.
But let me elaborate be a little bit more clear on that one. I have my structure as well, but on that particular day, it was that I had a rest day. I slept in until 8. Then Katie and Hugo are always leaving the house like a half an hour later. So this is where I then went out for a walk, came back, did my client check-ins. Then it was already like, I think 11 or something. And then I had, I think, a couple of consultations. And first around 11-ish, 12-ish, I had my first true meal. So before that, I only had a coffee and a protein shake. And then I had my first true meal, which kept me satiated up until the evening, because most of the time I have early in the morning when I'm coming back from the gym, which is around 7 already. Have my first meal there. Then I have my second meal around 12. And then the third big meal at around evening time. And yeah, this time around it was just like this one meal simply didn't happen, and that's where I quote unquote subconsciously saved some calories. even though that it wasn't a conscious decision I've made.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what I was going to say. Oh, what I was going to say is it's interesting. Something that you kind of pointed out there was with the scale weight. And well, it's funny because I think your maintenance is around 300, right? Yeah. So that's the same as me. But I'm eating around 2,400 calories at the moment because, I don't know, I am. And what was I going to say? So yeah, I'm just our deficits. Like I bet our macros are very, very similar. I'm probably just having a little bit more carbs or fat than you at the moment. Yeah. And then in terms of the water weight, you talked about kind of loads of things impacting it, like the trip, the stress from training, your NSAID, you're kind of taking the paracetamol and things, and that all impacting. And I had the same with my holiday in that, and I've predicted. I'm waiting basically for a drop because obviously I went away and I was around 195 pounds. I then came back 190 pounds and people would be like, oh, you lost 5 pounds on holiday, which I would think is mostly water, if not completely water, because of reduced stress from kind of training because I wasn't doing anything really. Although I doubt that was a big contributor because I had deloaded. But just food volume, a big one, which you talked about, because obviously you're eating pizza and then like one other meal to hit your macros. So you're barely eating anything volume wise. But my salt intake actually definitely came down because although meals out are salty, me and Charlotte only really ate like 1 or maybe 2 meals out. And I salt all my meals now anyway, and they're probably more salty than maybe some of the restaurants salt them anyway. And then I dropped creatine for those 2 weeks, mostly because it's just, there was no reason to take it. Would have just been taking it for the sake of it. Apart from there are other benefits apart from training for creatine, but so short term, I was never going to take it with me on holiday. That would have been a pain in the ass. And then, so I actually came back 5 pounds lighter, but I actually have been in a deficit, like 1,000 calorie deficit, but I've maintained weight, and I would put that down to reintroducing creatine, reintroducing more salt, and reintroducing training. So I'm kind of waiting for that big drop to happen, or maybe not a big drop, but the whoosh, like your client talked about, which is always nice when you train smart individuals, that sometimes our clients can teach us something as well. So yeah, I just think that's good for the listeners to kind of hear about, in that we're not stressing about that. Is the key is just understanding what the scale's telling you. And even for if I'm honest, for a mini cut, the first 2 weeks I ignore most of what the scale's telling me anyway. It's only really after that third week that you're seeing mostly fat loss. First week's like, I don't know, 75% water. Second week, maybe 50%. Then maybe it's more so now fat that you're digging into.
It's crazy to think how differently I'm approaching the scale weight this time around. Simply because you do remember the time when I was pulling out of the contest prep. I was really attached to the scale, and then I simply needed to take a break from it, a prolonged break from it, because it stressed me out so much. And now I'm back, and I only truly use it as a tool, and I'm not looking forward to have a lower weigh-in. I'm not hoping for it, that it shows me something I'm expecting or I wish that it shows me or something, right? It's just data I'm collecting. And if it's not coming down, it's not coming down. And then I would make the appropriate adjustments over time. If it stays the same for a week or so, it's absolutely fine, because I know that I'm in a caloric deficit. By no way I'm not, right? And so far the weight has just come down really quickly. This is also, so yesterday I've been on a podcast with Ryan, shout out to Ryan, and there we talked about the body fat settling point, and I think that I was just way above it, and that is why I'm seeing that the scale weight is coming down that quickly, and that I don't experience severe dieting symptoms so far, simply because I overshot my body fat set point by that much. And even the settling point, I was way above it, I think. And yeah, that's why I think it's for me so easy, and I'm taking so much more relaxed the entire thing. I have a plan, yes, but I don't have a specific target scale weight I want to achieve. I'm simply going with a plan, and deal with things that come up accordingly.
It's really interesting, actually. The more, like, I really like the scale and I use it, and it's a great tool. But like you just described there, that's very similar to how I ended up approaching my off-season weigh-ins, in that I wasn't kind of looking for a particular number. I was just hoping that over time it was going up. And just like in a deficit, like obviously you set everything up so it's an appropriate rate of gain and that you're losing at an appropriate rate. But if it doesn't quite fit that mold, I'm not too concerned about it. Often, I don't know if you found this actually, Pascal, with a lot of my clients who go through their fat loss phases. Not a lot of them, but a number of them don't lose that much in their first kind of month of dieting, but they lose inches around their waist. They look way better composition wise. And then the month after that, it just starts kind of falling off. And I wonder if there's like an element of like the fat loss machinery kicking in, and like it takes a while to get that completely going. It's just interesting to see that.
I think that because we talked about the first 1 or 2 weeks, you are ignoring, because you know your body, that you are losing a lot of weight in the first 1, 2, 3 weeks. And I'm the same. I mean, just look at my first 2 weeks. It was crazy what was going on. I lost like 8 pounds in the first week. And thus I know my body quite well when it comes to responding to a caloric deficit, and that I'm probably holding on to a lot of water along the way. And some individuals aren't like that. They won't see a huge drop in the first 1 or 2 weeks. And I could imagine that then after these 2 first weeks, initial weeks, that once the fat loss machinery is actually starting, fat loss is probably also a little bit of a momentum. Yes, fat loss and muscle synthesis is always happening at the same time, and the ratio is always switching between the two, depending on your current environment. But I think it still takes time for the body to effectively use fat as the fuel sources, because it now sees the requirements to do so. And the same goes for muscle synthesis. I think that muscle gain, and I think that you are on the same page when it comes to that you need to build a little bit of momentum before you are actually synthesizing a sufficient amount of muscle tissue. And the same, I could imagine, is the case for fat loss. And that's why I don't think that something like a 2-week mini cut is somewhere beneficial. I think that, yes, there are things like rapid fat loss approach where you just have something like a protein modified sparing fast. Whether it is beneficial or not is a different discussion. We know that you can lose significant amount of fat in a short period of time, but I think that when you take a more appropriate approach to it, then it takes a while to kick in and really see that acceleration of fat loss going on. At least that's an assumption of mine. Yeah,
I think so. And I think some people just hold water differently. I think there's some people that have really reactive, like I've got some clients that if I take them through like a diet break, I know every single time we do that, they gain like 5 pounds, but they lose that like the week after. Whereas other people, they lose through that. Other people will maintain through that. So we just know it's just, I guess it's different metabolisms, particularly how they take things up and everything like that. And yeah, it's just interesting. And like everything, it's individual. And it's just being aware of that is the most important thing, because obviously people reference averages. We see the average on social media. You might not be that person. And I think you referenced kind of, you're in a deficit, is trusting that process. And that's half the time what the job of ours is just keeping the client to trust what they're doing is working.
Good example would, before we move on, because I had the feeling that you wanted to say something.
I don't know what I'm moving on to actually.
So one of my clients, he's about to compete at the BNBF finals and UK DFBA finals. Stu, shout out to Stu. And he didn't really, over the past 2 weeks, he didn't really see the scale weight numbers he would like to, right? He's still hovering around 78 kilograms. And I don't think that this is an issue, because I think that when I look at the data and I look at the calories, together in conjunction with the activity levels, there's no way he's not in a caloric deficit and losing fat along the way. And I always bring up, and I'm so grateful for your physiology for that one, and that you went through something like that. And we also recorded that, because at the beginning of your contest prep, you didn't lose any scale weight for 4 weeks, but you got visually significantly leaner. Right, and this is exactly what you were talking about, that sometimes you simply have to trust the process, that there can be so many other external influences that have an impact on your scale rate readings. And especially in such a situation where you're about to approach finals, don't just freak out about it, because your body is in a really stressful situation right now. I mean, right before finals, you would expect that you are like the leanest you are in that season, and probably you've ever been if you're a first-time competitor. And the body is just in a really stressful situation, and stressing about that more doesn't do you any good. And just trust that you have been in a caloric deficit. Wait for the refeeds to come, or the carb up, so to speak, and probably a lot of water is then subsiding from the stress, and things that you, and also of course the muscles that weren't filling out that much, and the body composition will change like drastically.
Yeah, I mean, in a situation of contest prep, the scale becomes less and less of a reliable tool and something that you want to use use to a great extent, because a lot of the time you're losing less and less fat. So the changes that you're seeing on the scale are, as a percentage, less and less of fat and more of just water changes. So the scale becomes way less helpful. So yeah, focusing on your physique is absolutely key. And like you said, for Stu, it will be a case of when those carbs start coming in, that everything will just start sorting itself out. And I think it's very typical to get a bit anxious about the scale and anxious how things going on, because you care. It's just normal to worry about that when you care about the process. So I don't think,
especially if you have been dieting for nearly a year now.
Yeah, gets hard.
You invested a lot of time and effort in that, and of course you don't want to mess it up, because I don't know. It's like preparing yourself for exams that is 1 year away from now, and that is the only day where it counts, and you're messing it up. Yeah. Of course you don't want to mess it up, right? So I totally get why you're getting so anxious about it and so emotionally invested to the whole thing. But yeah, once again, stressing out about it, I mean, you ticked all the boxes so far, and all you can do now, you can't really change anything anymore, right? Now it's only ticking the boxes, do what you're supposed to do, and then, just perform.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say outside of the context of contest prep, obviously, for the people that are listening and they're like, oh, my weight hasn't come down for a month, but that's fine because Stephen Pascal said that's okay. You have to be really honest with yourself. When we're talking about our clients, we are constantly kind of like assessing their accuracy, their adherence. We're keeping track of their NEAT kind of via step counts, have their cardio. Like, we know how good they're being at kind of actually filling out the process and following that. And so we have a good awareness of thermodynamics for them and that they're actually being adherent to it. Whereas if you're listening to this and you're not doing those things, then you might not have lost weight because you might not have been in a deficit. So that's always one to be aware of. You said it looks like I've got a point to go on to. I actually don't. I don't know if there's anything you kind of have, something you want to talk about. We haven't asked the audience for questions this time. We have managed to talk for half an hour without that though. Oh. So it doesn't upset me to a great degree.
So
we've got a decent amount of content.
Yeah, no, but we can further discuss whether... One thing I did want to bring up, and it's as good a time as any, is we are going to be at Broderick Chavez is coming over to the UK on the 1st of December. We're not running this seminar. It's being run by someone else, but both me and Pascal and a number of our clients will be there. So I did want to let people know that that's happening, because I know a lot of people that love Broderick and love his rants, listen to this podcast, and just to give people an idea of the content. And part of the reason we didn't run the seminar, I think, is because sometimes, obviously, Broderick's main content isn't what we kind of talk about. We're talking about drug-free athletes. However, I did get access to his Australia seminars,
and I watched a bit of that, and a lot of it is not based around people taking. There's always elements that come in. So if you are a drug-free competitor, I still think there'd be some value there if you are wondering that question. But if you are taking drugs, obviously it's a no-brainer in that sense. So,
and at the end of the seminar, this is something Broderick told me already. We are gathering together in a circle, put on some heavy metal music, and then we are rotating a steroid injection in the circle so that everyone gets a testosterone shot.
That wouldn't surprise me from Broderick.
Everyone gets a piece of it. We are sharing.
So if you're coming, let us know. Comment below. That'd be awesome.
Totally.
But you had something to say, Pascal. You had something.
I just wanted to further discuss things about cats, actually.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, I was actually excited for the cats.
No, I've actually nothing more to say.
So I don't know. We could call it here, or did we had one kind of comment come through? If we could discuss students and kind of getting sufficient sleep and training, and basically being a student bodybuilder, I guess, was more so the subject that they were asking for. And I don't know if we want to talk too much on that. We could probably cover it in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean,
you're going to be a student soon.
I haven't been a student yet.
This
time around, though. No, when you're listening to that, I'm officially having my first day as a student.
Oh.
So, because it's always coming out on Monday. And today I'm actually sitting in the university for the first time in my life. And so, yeah, I'm officially now a student then. So
on Monday's your first like lectures and stuff?
And no, it's just an introductory event. And
Freshers Week.
What?
Do you have a Freshers Week?
Yeah, but I'm not going.
Go get trashed.
Mate, I'm a family man now. I'm over 30. I got gray hair. They probably think that I'm a professor or something. Not a student.
Wear your glasses.
Yeah, totally. Maybe I should just pretend that I'm a professor now. Go there, and wasn't there a movie where a teacher is just going to a school and is pretending that he's now the substitution for another teacher or something?
Probably some shitty American
film. Wasn't it with Cameron Diaz?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Teacher or something?
You have to wear a suit.
Oh, God damn, mate. No, but in all honesty, when it comes to that is so individual depending on so many factors, such as how much time and effort you're already putting into the, I don't know, undergrad, master's course, PhD, whatever it is, how much outside of it there is as well on your plate, and what are your priorities in life? I mean, are you still watching Netflix for 2 or 3 hours per day?
That's not much.
No,
I bet that's not much.
For some, it isn't. But is that a priority of yours, and is that causing you to not get in sufficient amount of sleep or something? Or aren't you really being productive when you are learning for, I don't know, an exam or something, right? It takes you 10 hours instead of 6 hours to actually learn for that, because you're always distracted by Facebook, by, I don't know, some other shit. You're a student, maybe girls or something. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not a student yet, so I can't really say what's in the head of students. But yeah, I think there's always a trade-off in life, no matter what it is. And in that case, if your priority is to get in more sleep, then something else has to give in. And if your biggest priority is to learn as much as possible, then something else has to give in. And I think, unfortunately, we don't have unlimited time throughout the day. I would love to have that as well, because I have so much more on my plate as well. What the fuck is going on, Steve? Is that a telephone there?
Yeah, Charlotte's calling me.
Charlotte?
I can't talk to you, babe. Never call her babe. If I call her babe, she's like, what? Oh, and then I call her woman, and then she gets, and then I'm kicked out of the house, of the flat.
I'm not cutting that out. No, but I think that to get back on the topic, I think there's always a trade-off, and it's up to you to set priorities for that. Also being aware that we don't have unlimited time throughout the day, and that you simply have to set priorities. And I don't know if you have something to add there, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, you covered it really well. I was saying to you, I don't really see, when you think about it and you just take it for what it is, it's nothing different to really having a job, in that you have priorities. Like, it's just like anything else. What I would say is most people who are students are young. No, I'm being really mean to Pascal there. So yeah, most people who are going, like, at uni are quite young, so they don't really know what they want out of life yet. So before you start thinking, I want to be the most optimal bodybuilder ever and sacrifice everything to be the best bodybuilder ever, I'm like, I don't know, there will be parties, there will be social occasions, live your life a little bit, and you can still progress incredibly well. What I would say is the sleep thing is going to be hard, because sleep is so important, not just for recovering for your training, but also for your studies. And that's essential, because there will be times at which, and we all know people who stay up or do the all-nighters to do all these different things. And we know for fact that you don't learn as well when you sacrifice sleep. You just do not. So what I would say is, what Pascal was putting out there is have a plan, a schedule, a structure, prioritize, because I think, like we have Miguel on the team, he is a student at the moment. And actually, this might have been a good question for him, although I think he's a bit of a special case in some ways, because he's very, very much knows what he wants. You know what I mean? So like I would say, and for Miguel, we say his priority number one isn't us, it isn't Revive Stronger, it is his studies. And then you can kind of go down the list. So I think for anyone who's at university, you're paying a ton of money, you're investing a load of time, your studies are number one. Like, don't be a twat. They are number one. Obviously, there's other things like social life experience, like that's a big part of university as well. And then I suppose, like, it might be different for yourself, Pascal, because you're older, you've got more things going on. But for someone who's younger,
I already took all the drugs and
you've done a lot. Yeah,
did all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll things. So I'm skipping that part of university.
I need that part back. I never really got that uni, because I had a kind of different time at university. But that's basically what I wanted to say, is just realize that you're young, you don't really know what you want out of life yet. But if you are that person who's very much, you know what you want to do, then I don't think actually that person would be asking that question, because I think they'd know they can't sacrifice their sleep, that you can get your training in. You're actually, the number of hours that you're at university is less than what a full-time job would be by a mile. So there's tons of time. You just need to be very structured in your approach. So I think that's the best tip you gave, was just having that structure. Yeah.
And don't fall into the trap of Gary Vee, to be honest. I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee, the energy he's bringing today. But the thing is that he's always talking about, when you're only sleeping 6 hours, you have still 18 hours for the rest of the day. So be productive about it. It's all well and good, right? But there's only so much you can do. Maybe you're someone who needs a little bit more rest to work productively, right? And be aware of that. The hustle life that Gary Vee is always promoting is not for everyone, and is also not necessary to be a successful human being, right? I think that success is always a subjective thing. When you ask around what is success, most people will probably correlate it to monetization, so being rich or something. But to be honest, it is really subjective, and perhaps success looks quite different for you, and find out what it is. And then, once again, set your priorities and find out what trade-offs you have to simply do to get everything that is important to you into one single day, and maybe 1 week or so.
Yeah, completely. And I don't know if, like, I can remember being at university, and my days were literally like, especially in first year, I was in halls, and I can just remember I'd wake up early, go to the gym, have a protein shake, go to the gym first thing, which was like, I was in the halls right by the gym. So go to the gym, and then I'd walk back, have hall breakfast. So I used to just have boiled eggs, remove the egg yolks. I was I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I'd go to my lectures, and then I remember we had a card for meals, and so you could go to like different catering facilities, but I used to always go to this one place that did like salad bowls, because you could pick out as much like tuna as you wanted to. So I used to put like a whole like 2 tins worth of tuna at the bottom, and then I just used to cover the top with like beans and like pulses and like all of this sort of stuff. And I used to buy, I think that left me enough money to also buy a sandwich. So I used to buy that sandwich and put that in my fridge in my room and have that for some other time. And then before dinner on our halls, I would go and do I'd do HIIT on the treadmill in the gym. And then that would earn me my dinner in my halls. And then I'd go and have dinner. And then I'd like chill out with other people and then go to bed and have, I think I had like a bowl of cereal before bed or something. I didn't have a very good uni experience. This is me like just sound like most students don't do that. And I didn't really enjoy my time at uni. I think the person asking the question will be more educated and know that it doesn't have to be as kind of weird as that. But
mate, I'm really looking forward for my uni experience, because I think it's going to be quite different as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'd love to go back.
I say that I have family now at home, right? I call Hugo that he's my son, even though that he's not my biological son, right? And I have a business together with you to run. I have my own training that is important to me. And then university that is 1.5 hours commute away. And then I have to get back again because I don't own an apartment there. So it's going to be a lot of time commitment I have to sacrifice to just get there, right? But that the campus also has a gym facility and all that kind of stuff. So I can probably make that happen. At first, it's going to be a challenge because I have to reschedule things. I have to reorganize how I'm running my day, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's probably possible. And if not, then someone has to just give in. And that's probably Revive Stronger.
You're part-time though as well, aren't you, Pascal?
Yes. I mean, I can. So you always can either finish it in 3 years, so the normal time, right, 6 semesters, or you can just extend it. And if I'm not able to do it in 3 years, then I simply extend it. I have no pressure, right? I don't want to sacrifice anything when it comes to Revive Stronger or the family life I'm also building for myself right now. And studying is basically just a luxury at the side, simply because I want to do it. And I'm curious to further educate myself, but it's not mandatory for my future. Yeah. Thus, this is probably then that I'm a little bit more relaxed about it. I will go visit some lectures when I have the time for it, right? And then, just ride along.
I think it's when it becomes routine and you're structured, like we said. Yeah. That's when you get into that flow state and everything's just more manageable. Totally. It's when you don't have any idea what you're doing. It's like that.
Yeah, totally. And also the commute, I mean, it's 3 hours it would be 3 hours when I'm actually getting there to uni. So I don't have to be there each and every single day. But when I do travel, then I always can make use of the time in a train. I can read something, I can study something, I can, answer emails, stuff like that, right? So you can always try to make use of that time as well. Because when I were to commute there with car, it would be a different kind of beast. I would feel that this is kind of a waste of time then.
Yeah, fortunately with our job, even if you had like a lecture in the morning, one in the evening, you could be there all day with your laptop and do your work there. And because they have a gym, you can train there.
Totally.
So actually fortunately for us, these sort of things are much more doable.
Absolutely.
Sweet. We come to 50 minutes almost, so I think we're at a good point. Hopefully some of that helped that kind of student in that scenario. Otherwise, I don't think we have anything else.
Surprised that we took it to 50 minutes, even though that we didn't have any kind of topic beforehand.
We could probably, if there's we find something sometimes and we just end up going and it just works. We kind of found it this time. That question kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm really bad at answering those sort of questions because I feel like I'm not the normal person. So I find it hard to relate sometimes.
Yeah.
But
it's all right.
Did my best.
Yeah. And just to end the show on, if you guys have any kind of pictures from your Greece trip where there are many cats around, or you have the explanation on why there are so many cats in Greece.
Yes.
This is a good way to end the show on, right? Why? So does any of you guys have a reasonable explanation of why there are so many cats in Greece?
And are they stray or are they owned? I also want to know that.
Oh, yeah.
Because then I maybe could have taken one home.
What would you call your cat if you had one?
Oh, I want to call him I don't really want to call him Arnie, but this is the first thing that came into my head. Pumpmeister. Wait, no, Disco Pumper. This is one.
So let's just end the show here. It's not getting any better.
No, it's not, is it? Right, guys, catch you in a bit. Yes. Take care.